Man Up, a program dedicated to inspiring and helping men live lives of heroic virtue. And now, it's time to man up.
Welcome to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. We are broadcasting on the Iowa Catholic Radio Network. I am Joe Stopulos, and today I am joined by Adam and Kara Storey from the Basilica of St. John, friends of ours for many years, to just continue our Heroic Marriages series. Let's start in prayer in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and the snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all the evil spirits who prowl by the world seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. The Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. I mentioned early on, I'm going to try to avoid, younger-ish couples. I consider myself still young. I'm still young and hip. Adam and Kara are definitely going to fall into that. They're about my age, right in line there. And so I kind of joke like, I don't know if our kids are going to turn out well or not, but I can give you the advice of what we're doing today. That said, given their position in, Adam was the head of the Marriage and Family Life Office for many years, and obviously Kara and he were both involved with marriage prep and a lot of those types of things. I think it would be great to have them on because A, they're in the middle of it right now with kids and homeschooling and all this other stuff, but also given the position that they've had in running a lot of this stuff over the course of years for the diocese, will give us an interesting view on their view of marriage. And I know these are two people who are very thoughtful in their marriage, are very proactive in working to have a great marriage. And so they'll be a wonderful couple, even though, again, I still consider us young. They have a lot of wisdom for their age. So excited to have Adam and Kara on. So stick around. We'll head to a short break, and we'll be right back.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Subway, located at 407 West Bridge Road in Polk City. Subway Catering offers custom subs, drinks, chips, and cookies all in one place. Order online and they'll do the rest. Learn more at jbsubs.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from Westgate Dental, offering cosmetic, family, implant, and general dentistry. Located at 1073rd Street, Suite 1 in West Des Moines, just behind Dowling Catholic High School. Learn more at westgatedentalia.com. Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from A New Look Exteriors, an Anderson-certified contractor providing custom window installations, roofing, siding, gutters, concrete, and more to help give your home a new look. Learn more at anewlookexteriors.com.
Support for programming has been provided by Marr Security Services, a family-owned security company that provides full-service security solutions to homes and businesses throughout the Midwest. Learn more at permarsecurity.com. Thank you, Marr Security Services, for supporting Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Paul Martin and Paul Mitchell, owners of Imogene Ingredients. Imogene Ingredients supply specialized feed ingredients for livestock and pet diets to improve maternal and young animal health in both conventional and organic production.
Iowa Catholic Radio would like to thank our business partner, Dino Storage, 2725 2nd Avenue in Des Moines, offering monthly rentals, indoor climate-controlled storage, and package delivery to your unit. Learn more at dinostorage.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Skeffington's Formal Wear, in business since 1951, with locations in Des Moines, West Des Moines, Coralville, and Ankeny. Skeffington's Formal Wear, fitting you for life celebrations. Online at skeffingtons.com.
The next Man Up West Power Lunch is Friday, December 13th at noon at St. Francis of Assisi in West Des Moines. John Wynn from the Diocese of Des Moines will share his thoughts on Advent and the enduring reality of the Incarnation. Lunch provided. Details at iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome back to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. I am joined today by Adam and Kara Storey, two good friends of mine from the Basilica of St. John, and we've gone back way further than back to Catholic couples groups. That's when I first met you guys, probably like 14 years ago. I don't know, at least 12 years ago.
I think at least 12. Yeah, we've all been a part of the original crew in the Des Moines area.
It's interesting because, and we'll do a little introduction of you guys in a second, but it's interesting that many of the conversations I've had, and most recently with Joel and Chris Magruder, they said they kept talking about one of the most important things in their marriage was their Catholic community. Which was diving into Catholic communities. Interesting is we all met at a vibrant Catholic community. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So very important. Adam, as you may know from previous Man Up episodes, was the head of Marriage and Family Life. So he has a perfect marriage. That's how this works. That's part of the application process.
I tell Kara that I have all the answers. I don't know if she always agrees with that, but I try to propose. I try to throw around that authority. But
the bishop has assigned me
Yeah, exactly.
Previously, because you're in a new role. You're not over it still.
That's
right?
true.
Okay.
Yeah, he took that role from me.
What is your new role?
So, well, I'm the vice chancellor, and in that role, what I do, that can mean different things, but I work with canonical affairs of the diocese. So canonical matters, most often you think about that with the tribunal in cases of matrimonial nullity. And I do work with those, but I work with all sorts of canonical matters.
But prior to that, you were obviously for many years the head of the Marriage and Family Life Office,
That's
which
right.
is why I think it's very important to have you here, because you can give us the textbook ansers of how a marriage is supposed to go.
No. I had a talk with Bishop. That's why he took that role away.
Yeah, that could be, yeah.
All right, so let's do a little introduction of yourselves, kind of where you guys were born and raised, how you guys met. Give me maybe a little bit of the romantic, how you.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, so I grew up in the Midwest, but in Des Moines since middle school. Kara grew up in central Minnesota in a small town called Uppsala. We met. I spent a little bit of time in college seminary, and then when I was leaving seminary, a friend who's for a time was a vocations director at Tulsa, Oklahoma, as I was leaving, he said, "Hey, I have this lady I think you should meet. I want to introduce you to." So you
didn't recruit him out of the
No, I'm
you
not
weren't
a chalice chipper.
none of that
Nope,
stuff.
No. It was the last week he was in seminary. He already announced he was leaving.
And where were you at the time?
University of St. Thomas.
So you guys were both at
we were both at school.
My brother actually lived on the same floor as Adam.
Okay.
So they went to my brother first and asked if they could introduce Adam to me. My brother said yes.
He said yes because Kara would never go for a guy like you. I was kind of insulted. I thought,
that's verbatim.
Yeah, that's verbatim. And so he's
Adam said,
eating
challenge
his words,
accepted.
for 14 years now. But
so it was like a setup. I didn't know it was a setup. Adam knew it was a setup because this other seminarian came with us. It was three of us who went out just.
Seminarians are really good at dating. They're really good at it's one of the classes you guys take.
So anyway, fast forward the end of the week, he's officially out of seminary. We went to coffee. It was great. But then Adam actually didn't come back to school that fall because he was in the Marine Corps and got sent to Iraq.
And, that's right. You guys had the love letters back and forth.
So
right.
we weren't dating. He had actually said, "Hey, I'm going to be sent overseas. I don't know if I'm coming back to school. We shouldn't date." And we just kind of kept in contact via email and then letters. He got back from Iraq. He asked me out. I said, "No, I will not be your girlfriend." And then a week later, he asked me out again, and I said, "Okay."
That was a hell of a week. You really got after it. He really must have important it on during that week.
He had some friends who were like,
flowers, chocolates every day.
Yep. But we were long distance.
So it's interesting.
At that point, I'd moved to Sioux City, and he still had a year left in St. Paul.
So my grandparents, it was a similar thing. When he went off to war, they were like, similar. They were pretty close. They were dating a lot, but he didn't want to propose to her because he's like, I don't want you to be married to me or propose to me. Like, we'll just catch back up when I come back kind of thing. So anyway, all right. So you guys been married for how many years?
14 years.
14 years.
Yeah, 14 years.
Same here. Great number.
Yeah.
Great number. It's easy when you get married on a year that ends in a zero. It's way easier that way. Yeah. So let's talk about what was your guys' faith life like when you were first married? Obviously, you're in seminary. You're interested in seminarians. I imagine you have I imagine you have pretty I mean.
That's not how that goes.
Atheists ually aren't dating seminarians. Okay, there's probably some level of
I was interested in men who took their faith seriously.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. I think to your question though, from the beginning, I think we were committed to our faith and we wanted to live our faith well. I mean, I think early in our marriage we had the normal struggles of adjusting to marriage life. You know, marriage is different than what we predicted it would be, and all those sorts of things. So, but I mean, maybe one of our strengths is that in the midst of those struggles, you know, we knew where to turn. We turned to our faith, and we turned to the church, and I think kind of grew in significant ways because of that.
So you talk to me how your marriage has grown strong. So talk to me, how have you grown your faith stronger, and how have you guys grown your marriage stronger over those 14 years?
Well, or do you want to start with this one?
So I think faith-wise, I think part of that is just the different scenarios and circumstances that come your way. And for example, we had a little girl who was stillborn, you know, and how when you have your foundation built on Christ, how that can actually deepen your faith and and to the point of me yelling at God about that And that being a turning point in my life of opening up and him finally saying, thank you for being vulnerable with me. Like the father actually being like, I just wanted to hear you say that. And so I think like those sort of situations actually like can call you deeper. I think also faith-wise, like marriage with the vulnerabilities, it reveals wounds that you have, wounds from your past, your dating history, your childhood, maybe new wounds even. And that like they get revealed. And so having to work through those and not like squash those down, I think is one thing faith-wise. I don't know what you want to say, hon.
Well, yeah, I think that last, kind of how we've grown in our marriage, I think, in my mind, I think of our marriage as sort of a path of healing for both of us in the sense of, the wounds that we carry are brought to the surface. You can't really hide them with your spouse because you're with your spouse all the time. And, having those things brought to the surface at times is painful, and we've had our challenges, but it's through bringing that to the light that those wounds begin to be healed and they begin to be addressed, and that, grace flows into those wounds when they're opened up. And I think our marriage has been, for both of us, a path of healing in our lives for different reasons.
But I think too, though, like that was one of the things that like attracted me to you.
Lots of wounds?
No.
Many wounds,
yeah,
very vulnerable.
No.
He cries a lot.
He progress.
Like you say that, like you can't hide them in marriage. And I think like for us, that's very true. I think there are couples out there who can work really hard to hide them.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is like that, like you were willing to face them head on and like be vulnerable. And I remember thinking like we both like heading into marriage, like we want to be saints. Like, let's tackle this. Like we want an exceptional marriage. We want to do this. We want to do it well. And like, because of that attitude, I think it allows us to rip open the wounds and like bare our hearts to one another.
I think right there, you just said a couple things I want to jump on. The idea of wanting to be saints, right? So that is the whole goal of marriage, right? Is to get each other to become saints. And if you have that mindset going into marriage, how much healthier that's going to be. If you realize that the goal of this thing is X, the goal of this is to get each other to heaven. It's not to, as I've mentioned multiple times on this series, like most people go into it for selfish reasons. I like this person a lot, and it's going to benefit me somehow. Like just in general, that's how I feel like most of society goes into a marriage, not on the I'm going to sacrifice myself in order to get this person to heaven, which is the mindset you want. I think the other thing you mentioned that I think is worth noting is in these difficulties you've mentioned, with the loss of your child and even the vulnerabilities, you keep talking about how you guys brought those to God and how it brought you closer. That seems to be a recurring theme on this is when I ask people about the difficulties they've had. When it has been brought to Christ, when these difficulties have been brought to Christ within the marriage, it actually strengthens the marriage. So like a lot of people are seeing these as, woe is me, these things, bad things are happening to me. But when you look at them in hindsight and when you bring them to the cross, it can actually strengthen your marriage in a way you never thought. That's like, you're not the first person to say that. When you talk about these difficulties and overcoming them.
Well, yeah, I certainly think that's been our experience is that, the wounds are opened up in order to be healed and in order for grace to enter into that. And I think we've seen that in our life. And to your first point, too, the thing it made me think of is I really think so much of life is about just trajectory, just the direction that you're aiming at. And I think both of us have always throughout our marriage been aiming at, we want to be saints, we want to thrive in marriage, we don't want to get by, we don't want to go through the motions, we want a strong marriage. And because those have been our goals, we've made progress towards it, and sometimes that progress is very slow and it's stumbling and it's it feels very arduous, but because of that trajectory, I think it has always.
So what are some things you guys have learned from the great marriages in your life? Some people like maybe mentors or people you've seen in the community. What are some of those things you've seen and that you're trying to emulate in your own marriage?
I would say vulnerability. That I always really respect couples that have kind of been in the trenches and have struggled, and that they're transparent about that, I guess.
Yes, and I think the authenticity. That's a big thing for me is like seeing a couple who's willing to say, hey, like it is not perfect and this is hard work. Just because I know that there are other Catholic couples out there who get embarrassed when they're going through difficulties and don't like to share. because they feel like they're going to be looked at as like a failure.
One of the cool things about Teams of Our Lady, this series keeps coming back to that as well, but like I'm new into it, it's about a year, 2.5 years. It forces, now, if you have a good group and people are actually vulnerable, we happen to have a very good group of people who will be very open about this kind of stuff, and then you realize, oh man, I'm not the only one going through this, and it does then helps you build that community. So that it comes back to whether it's Teams of Our Lady or something else, connecting yourself with other people who are going through this and doing it together, right? We're not supposed to just be on an island doing this by ourselves.
Yeah, and I think also like having the humility to like reach out for outside help if you need it. Like we've gone to counseling before. We've gone to marital counseling, not because we had any like, big glaring issue or anything, but like we had gotten to a point, because this was just this past spring, we got into a point where we were like, wow, we were realizing that we've like some of the disagreements we have or the arguments we have, we can tell the root now. We know it's not just about the socks being left in the middle of the kitchen floor, right? We can tell that when I get upset because, maybe you're spending a lot of time on your sister's like Christmas gift, it's not because taking time away from the family.
It never happened.
No, it's because it's like, oh, are you spending that much time on my gift?
We're very happy about that.
Big fan of the show.
I know you're going to go to that
the show.
And like a deeper insecurity of like, am I special to you, right? So we're like, the realization came to like, wow, we have these like, we can name what these deep things are, but we just need a little help trying to figure out how to navigate that. Like we can argue well, but like we can't solve that deeper rooted, wounded problem. And, I remember Adam, we were talking about doing it, and he's like, yeah, like we have a great marriage. He's like, I want an exceptional one.
That's awesome.
And so like, let's go. Yeah. And that came from friends of ours who had also gone to counseling. Friends in the Twin Cities we went to college with, who said it was the best thing they'd ever done in their marriage, and if they wouldn't have shared that with us, I don't know if that would have been something we're open to, because most people think of counseling as just for people in crisis. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that line there, but the exceptional, that reminds me of what Father Reed Flood, about why he joined the priesthood. He said, I wanted to do something epic with my life. That stuck with me. It's the same thing with marriage, where you could say, yeah, I could go through the motions and have a laissez-faire marriage that's skirting by, or I can do the work and try to have an exceptional marriage. So how do you guys cultivate joy and fun and happiness into your marriage, especially you guys are right where I am, right? Lots of little kids, right? We're all the same thing. What are you guys doing to cultivate joy together?
Well, I think particularly in this stage in life, you got to prioritize it and even do it in ways that at first might feel a little bit artificial, but like you just have to be intentional about it, because otherwise you get so caught up in everything else. So like I think about something that you've implemented in our family in recent months of at the supper table, we go through beautiful moments and everybody shares like what was something beautiful that happened today, something that you're grateful for today. And you hear about families that do that with words of gratitude and stuff. And that's, I think, been a good like just reorientation at the end of the day when we're tired, when we're ready to go to bed. But no, what's something that was beautiful today that you're grateful for? I think we also we've been doing a lot of like at-home date nights after the kids go to bed.
Yeah, cool.
We'll like make steak and whatever just together. We'll maybe watch a show or talk. Adam has a book that a friend had recommended to him called If Questions for the Soul.
Okay.
And it's just like, if this happened in your life, what would you do?
Oh,
like,
cool.
And so we'll just open that up in the evening sometimes and we'll each randomly pick one out and ask each other to answer it. And they're actually a lot harder than you think they would be.
I like that. That's a good.
Yeah.
It's called If Questions.
If Questions for the Soul, right?
Yeah. If Questions. Yeah. It's a way to to get us off of the conversation, because most of our conversations are about
kids' work. Schedules.
Yeah.
Again, it's a vulnerability thing. Going deeper, like, and we'll say, like, at the end of the day, like, what's on your heart? What's on your heart? What's going on in your heart right now? Those types of things, I think. And then we're pretty competitive with each other. We like sports, and so that adds a little fun to our marriage, a little teasing and joking around. And
Kristen and I actually are too competitive. Like we tried one time. We had a 64, like an N64 from like my childhood, and I pulled out Mario Kart, and we played one game. Like, we can never do this again. Someone's going to get hurt. We played chess one time. I think I threw a piece. Yeah. We can't even play cribbage. Cribbage is too much for us. So anyway, the competitiveness has actually worked. So we'll do sometimes. This is probably not. We will play euchre together against other people online. Like we're sitting next to each other on the same, just because if it's late, that doesn't happen often. The date night thing, though, we do this is probably the thing we do the most because you don't want to pay a sitter and go out. And so we'll put the kids down to sleep, or we'll like grab a Brother Francis DVD or something and throw them in the basement, and then we'll do a date night together.
Yeah.
And I find like you don't need to go spend $100 and get a babysitter and stuff. You can do it right in your house once you just have alone time. The kids, something we learned from Teams of Our Lady from the DeVries is they have a blood or fire rule. You cannot bug us unless there's blood or fire. I think it's a really good, strong rule. Okay. You guys do marriage prep for people. You obviously ran that program for a while.
Not anymore.
No, you did.
We did.
Yeah. So what advice do you guys give to people who are entering marriage? What are the kind of the top pieces of advice you would give to couples? Obviously, it varies on them, but just in general, what are some of the kind of the go-to rules you guys have for advice?
Before you marry them, I would say a big one is, will you be able to suffer well with this person? And does that person suffer well?
Very good.
Because that will come your way, any shape or form. And that can be a make it or break it for a lot of people.
That's great.
Yeah, I think it goes to the vulnerability that, we all have things that we're embarrassed of. We all have things that we're ashamed of, things that we'd, rather leave in the dark, but just don't do it. Bring that stuff to the surface, talk about it, share that with your spouse. And when you bring those things to the light, you heal. That's for healing. So be vulnerable.
And pray together. I think pray together is a big one, too.
The Suffering Well is interesting. That was actually the whole jump off of this series was based on this 1962 exhortation before marriage. And in it, it talks a lot about suffering. And it talks about suffering, but doing it perfectly with love that actually become a joy, to suffer for the other person, right? Yeah. So sacrifice is what he taught you, the term sacrifice. But that said, most people aren't thinking about that at age, 25. They're thinking about like all the parties and the fun. It's like, no, like think of the 70-year-old who's dementia-ridden spouse. Like you got it. Like that's what you got. That's how you had to process this. I remember I told Dowling students that years ago. Like you're gonna think all the fun and games when you're dating, but like you got to realize this is you're gonna be for life with this person for good or for bad. And I think all we think is about the good. Okay, we got about a minute left. Any advice for people who are struggling in their marriage today, or any last piece of advice you got to have? Actually, no, I'll hold you around for the next part of the break, but let's answer that question first. Any pieces of advice for people who are struggling in marriage today?
Don't face it alone. You don't have to face it alone. Find somebody in your life that you can talk to. I mean, like Kara and I said, we did counseling. We have friends we can lean on. Suffering and struggling in marriage is normal. And so don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. Find someone you can talk to and it's okay.
And I think, doesn't the diocese have resources to some different counselors?
The diocese definitely does. You can find help. And even if you need help, you're okay. Suffering is normal. Just don't go it alone.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold you guys around. I got a couple more questions for you on the other side of the break. So we're gonna head to a short break, and we'll be right back.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from independent realtor Chris Foster. Chris has served clients with everything real estate throughout Iowa since 2019. 641-891-8178 or online at the number 4 saleia.com.
Support for programming provided by Intervisions Healthcare.
Would you like to join our medical team? Intervisions Healthcare, a free and faith-based medical clinic in Des Moines, serves women with unplanned pregnancies. We're looking for a registered nurse to help serve our patients. If you would like to come work for us, we'd love to talk to you. Give us a call today at 515-440-2273. If you're a compassionate, professional nurse looking to help vulnerable pregnant women, give us a call, 515-440-2273.
Join the Des Moines Symphony and pianist John Kimura Parker for the exuberant melodies and syncopated rhythms of Gershwin's Concerto in F, framed by Des Moines composer Linda Robbins Coleman's joyous music from the celebration, and Beethoven's Triumphant Symphony No. 7. Don't miss Parker Plays Gershwin, Saturday, November 23rd at 7:30 p.m. and Sunday, November 24th at 2:30 p.m. Learn more about these and other upcoming performances at dmsymphony.org. Thank you, Des Moines Symphony, for your support of Iowa Catholic Radio.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio is provided by Ashworth Vision Clinic. Complete eye exams, contact lenses, glasses, glaucoma testing, and urgent eye issues. 515-440-4610. AshworthVision.com.
Support for Iowa Catholic Radio comes from Caldwell Parish Funeral Home and Crematory. Caldwell Parish offers services that are unique to the individual while following the Catholic funeral rites. Caldwell Parish Funeral Home and Crematory, Des Moines' only Catholic-owned and operated funeral home.
From St. Charles to Pleasant Hill and everywhere at iowacatholicradio.com or the Iowa Catholic Radio app. Listener-supported Iowa Catholic Radio, connecting listeners to Christ.
Welcome back to Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. I am here with Adam and Kara Storey, and one thing we did not talk about, I mentioned it kind of briefly in passing, is that you guys have a bunch of kids. How many kids do you have?
So we have 5 living children. We had one daughter that passed away stillborn, so 6 in total. But
oldest is how old?
12-year-old son, and then all daughters after that, all the way down to 2.
Okay, so you are right with us,
We're
right
in
the middle of
battle,
so
yeah.
We're in the heat of battle. So a question I like to ask people right where we're at is, what advice do you have for people who are in the same boat as we are? Jim Gaffigan tells the joke that what is it like moving from 4 kids to 5 kids or whatever. It's like, well, imagine you have 4 kids and you're drowning instead of a life vest, someone throws you another kid. So we're in it, right? So this is where we're at. What advice do you guys have for people who are in this kind of phase of life?
Well, I would say, kids. One of the things that they just do by being who they are is they draw you out of yourself, and they place demands on you that stretch you and call you to growth and call you to greater holiness. And that can, I know in my experience, I can chafe under that and I can kind of want my own way. But that's a grace, and to be open to that and to really, I think my kids are drawing me into growth in ways that I did not anticipate before I had kids.
It forces selflessness.
Yeah.
Or you're a bad parent. If you want to be a good parent, you've got to be as selfless as possible. It's just how it works.
Yeah, I think for myself, I get really sometimes caught up in the mistakes I make, and worrying about, oh man, did I just ruin my child? And will they be years and years of therapy over this or something? And so my the challenge of relinquishing control over to the Father, I think, is something that I'm constantly wrestling with throughout the day. Something that I have to always keep in mind is, that God's love covers a multitude of our sins. Mm-hmm. And that's even the sins I make that affect my children, that nothing that I do is too great for him to heal and overcome. So I think that's something that I also have to keep in my mind.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you, too, for joining us. Thank you for the work you have done, obviously, with all the marriage prep stuff you guys have done as well in the diocese, and just being a great couple here in Des Moines. A great shining light to other people who've been married 14 years who are looking up to you guys
thanks for having us.
Yeah, trying to emulate your guys' marriage. So anyway, thank you for joining me today on Man Up on Iowa Catholic Radio. I am Joe Stopulos. It's time to Man Up.
Man Up, inspiring men to live out their call to holiness.